The weather pattern has taken a major turn. For the past few weeks, we have been very quiet in Canada and the US. We have not seen much in the way of any type of precipitation or severe weather. We've had a few systems, but for the most part, it's been fairly quiet. I think we're on the verge of seeing an active weather pattern, and this is going to shift in the next few days, and we're going to go through what that looks like. But I think we're going to see multiple low pressure systems come in off the west coast of the US and slam into that Great Lakes region, dropping lots of snow potentially in the northern parts of Ontario and possibly freezing rain and rain on the southern part of that. But I think we are going to see that in the next 4 or 5 days. We're going to run through that, but let's have a look at our current system that we're looking at right now. For the most part, right now, it's still fairly quiet. We still don't have much precipitation in the way of anything across the United States or Canada. We still have the snowfall in BC, which is just happening. That's been going on for the past few days. Nothing new there. We also have multiple low pressure systems. Now, I want you to pay attention to the top, the northern part of Canada. Okay, we're seeing a lot of low pressure and high pressure systems, but I want you to pay attention to this western portion here of the Pacific Ocean. We are going to see a low pressure system eventually come through here off the west coast of California, and it's going to make its way east, and it's going to ride across, and I think we're going to see a huge system where the jet stream is riding it through, and on the northern part of it is that cold Arctic air, and on the southern part is the warm air coming up from the south, and I think it's going to ride that jet stream across, and we're going to see quite an active pattern. So we're going to keep an eye on that. But right now our jet stream it hasn't changed much through the past little while. It's been further north on the western half of the US, and it's been dipping on the eastern portion down through states such as Alabama and Georgia. Their overnight lows have been very, very cold still, but I think that changes tomorrow. I think we're actually going to see this whole jet stream shift further north as we go through. I think we're going to see a good push this weekend where the weather should be a little bit of relief for the northeast portion of the United States, and where I'm at, which is in southern Ontario, we're going to see about 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, which is about 40 to 42 degrees. I think next week we have a shot at seeing some low to mid 40 temperatures. So that'll be some relief for a few days. But I do want to go over with warmer temperatures is where we're going to start to see a more active weather pattern. So here's just a current look at some of the temperatures right now through Canada and the United States. And once again, we can still see how that jet stream rides up north on the western half of the United States, actually pressing its way up through BC, Alberta, and Saskatchewan, through most parts of Manitoba, and then rides right down past northwestern Ontario, down past Wisconsin, and dips its way further south through Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, pretty much all the way down to the northern parts of Georgia. Okay, so this is a very big, large dip in the jet stream, and it's what we've been experiencing for the past little while. Now, we've had a few days here and there where the dip hasn't been so major, but this has been, for the most part, the most consistent pattern for the past few weeks. Not much has really changed, but we're about to see a big change in that. So let's just look at some of the actual temperatures that we are seeing. We are seeing strong pushes of warmer weather through the southern portions of the United States, and that would be through the Gulf of Mexico. That would be through Texas as well, getting strong pushes of warmer weather. And we're also looking at Florida, okay? We see a lot of warm weather coming from the Florida region as well. So through central United States, we've had a lot of decent weather lately. But if you look at the western half of Canada, up at the northwestern portion of this map, we are seeing unusual temperatures. Usually Western Canada is very cold at this time of the year, and they're seeing numbers in the upper 40s at some point, which is very rare for Canada. They're usually very, very cold, well under the freezing mark of 32. So that's very different. We still see these colder temperatures sitting over southwestern Ontario all the way up into Quebec, and this has been very consistent for the past little while. Now, this is what I just wanted to focus on here, was the western portion of Canada out in Alberta, where you're seeing temperatures in the mid 40s to upper 40s. We're seeing temperatures on Vancouver Island well into the 40s, which is way above what they're usually right around that freezing mark, but they're well above. And this is where that jet stream is still riding through. And it kind of looks like a sad face, but that's what they've been experiencing. They've been experiencing well over average temperatures for the past little while. We see in the higher elevations that they are well into the freezing points, and that's normal with higher elevations, and they've probably been getting a little bit of snow with that as well. Down into Florida and the Gulf Coast, we see they are getting their shots of heat, which is a great sign for the springtime because March break is coming around. Spring break is going to make these parts of Florida very, very busy, so they're hoping for some good weather. So we are seeing a more active push of warmer temperatures from the south, which is always good to see. And through Texas as well, we're still seeing those shots of warmer air, and they're well into the lower 80s, which is great. So there is great pushes of warm weather through there. Looking at the temperature anomalies through North America, we are still seeing those really cold temperatures up near Alaska and northern parts of Canada. I do feel like it is going to funnel its way south. So we are going to see another shot of that cold air come through the northwestern part of Ontario and ride its way down once again, all the way down to some of those southern states. And I'm not sure when that's going to be. I want to say give it a week or so before we see that happen. But for the most part right now, we are seeing an above average pattern right now cover most of the United States and Canada, which is good. It's a bit of a relief, especially for the eastern half of the United States and Canada. Looking at portions of southern Ontario, we're going to see a lot of cold temperatures ride its way through tonight, but I think it's going to be pushed out tomorrow, and we're going to see some of those above seasonal temperatures, which is great. Now, it is key to remember that during this time of the year, the average temperatures for these parts in southern Ontario, the average temperature right now is right around the freezing mark. So when we say it's about 5 or 6 degrees above average, realistically, it's still just barely over freezing. Now, the good news is if it is sunny, that would melt a lot of your snow. But if we're seeing even 10 to 15 degrees above average, that's still not going to be 50s and 60s, okay? It's not going to be summer just because the map is red. We got to remember we're still well into winter right now, so these temperatures are still going to be cooler, but they're warmer than average, so we just got to remember that. Looking at our 6 to 10 day trend, we still see the eastern half is expected to be well over average. We are slowly seeing the red start to retreat further south as we go further and further into the future, because I feel like that push of northern air from the Arctic blast, I think it's going to force its way down south again, and I think we're going to actually see more blue start to settle into this map on the northeastern side in the coming days. And I think that's just because we're going to see funneling of more winter air. So it's not over with. You could say this is like the fake spring right now, but it's not over. Looking at the precipitation, this is what I'm kind of concerned about right now. This area of California and Oregon and parts of Washington, I think we're going to see a lot of low pressure systems coming off that west coast. And I think we're going to see it ride through the jet stream. And I think we're going to see this area here targeted with lots and lots of snow and rain on the south portions of it. And I think it's going to be a massive storm. And I think we're looking at February 18th or so. I think it's going to be in the next 5 or 6 days. So we will keep an eye on it as we get closer to it so we can be a little bit more accurate. But that's why we're seeing a lot of green areas on this map, is because I think all the models are starting to be in agreement with what's going to happen. Here's a look at what I'm talking about. This is that low pressure system that rides its way from California, rides into that jet stream, and comes right through here through the northern parts of the United States. We do see a lot of heavy snow on the northern side of it. We see some freezing rain in the center of it and some rain on the south part of it. Now, what makes this dangerous, obviously, not only the snow for traveling, but the ice is very dangerous when we're talking about traveling, driving, electricity, power outages. So we got to keep an eye on this right now when we do see some of those pink colors in this. Now, the snow rates look to be about a quarter inch per hour, which can actually add up quite fast. That is pretty heavy snow. The darker the blue, the more heavy this is. So we are going to keep an eye on this, but looking at this right now, it does look like it could be a very dangerous, severe weather snowstorm. So we're going to have a look at that. We'll give you updates as we get closer to it. Looking at the future of our temperature anomalies, keep an eye right here up in the northwest territories of Canada, where we see that cold Arctic air start to funnel its way east into northwestern Ontario, and we see it settle right into that Great Lakes region again, but we see it push very far south, look at all the way down to the Gulf Coast, well into Florida, where we're going to see some of those colder temperatures ride down again. So I feel like that's going to happen within the next week or so. Looking at the dates from this model here, and it is still a little bit ways out, so we can't be too accurate right now, but some of those dates are around the 20th, where we see that cold weather settle in the Great Lakes, and we see about the 22nd of February, where the entire southeast of the United States is under average for this time of the year. But for now, for the next week, I think we can enjoy above average temperatures, so that's a good news. This is just a little bit of a zoom in on what we're expecting as well, just so we can actually look at some specific numbers. For the most part, like I said, for the next week, well over average. Central United States, looking at Iowa, Missouri, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Kansas, all well above average, almost 20 degrees above seasonal right now. So you have to really enjoy that. We see that cold air settle in to northwestern Ontario, southern Ontario, and large portions of Quebec, as well as the northeastern United States, such as Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, Maine, New Hampshire. So we do see a lot of those colder temperatures settle in, and then they funnel south to cover the whole southeastern portion of the United States. And that, like I said, that's right around the 22nd of February. So we're going to keep an eye on that. And it's unfortunate, but we aren't done with winter yet. We have to remember that. We still have about a month to go before we can really start to see some change, especially in those southern states where they really start to warm up. So here's just a look at our temperatures for the next little while. In the higher elevations in the western side of the United States, we see a lot of below average temperatures, but we see all of Canada right under that freezing point. So that's where I feel like a lot of this colder weather is going to start to funnel its way south, and we're going to see a battle split right here between Canada and the United States. Which side's going to win? Can the warm air press some of that colder air further north? We don't know, but usually that colder air can find a way to funnel its way down. So I think we're going to see another polar vortex. Will it be as strong as what we seen about a week or two ago? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to be at that point, but I think it will be very noticeable that it is going to be getting quite cold. So we're going to keep an eye on that for the next little while. That is all I have for today. Please keep an eye on this for the next week, because I feel like we're not certain on the exact day of the storm, but I feel like in the next few days, we'll have a very good certainty of what's going to happen. I feel like it's going to ride its way, like I said, from California, ride the jet stream east, and we're going to see a big snowstorm. So we are not done with winter yet. I think we need to just keep an eye on things, but tune in tomorrow. Please subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment, and we will cover what's going to happen tomorrow. Thanks for joining the Border City Kids podcast. I'm Brian. Take care. Have a good one.